Hello, everyone, and welcome to From Pain to Empowered Radio, where we believe giving up doesn't mean you're weak. Sometimes you're just strong enough to let go. I'm your host, Donna Harris, on the Amazing Women of Power, the world's leading positive programming network powered by Raven International. I'm here to help you rebuild and restore your lives from your past and your present pain of the everyday life of your everyday life by words of encouragement, motivation, empowering you and helping you stay focused so you can begin the next phase in your life, and that's the healing process towards a new way of living. Today's guest is Miss Lisa Munford Benson. Now, Lisa, she writes small plays for her own mystery party. She's an interior decorator and a wedding and party planner. She's currently in school working towards her bachelor's degree of business. She's the jack of all trades. Now, you need to get her to She's a single mom of two. Was trying to make it with a low-paying job to provide for her family. But Lisa knew that low-paying job wasn't going to be enough to support her family. So she decided to enroll herself into college. She began taking classes, hoping with a degree under her belt that she would be able to get a better job and support her family. While in college, she met her first husband. Now, I've shared some things about Miss Lisa, but I can't tell Lisa's story like she can. So let's welcome Lisa to the show. Hello, Lisa.
Hi, Donna. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule to join us today on the Pain to Empowered Radio. Like I said, I shared just a little bit of your story with the listeners, but again, I can't tell your story like you can. So would you like to go ahead and share your story with us?
Sure, I'll be glad to share my story. So, Donna, like you stated, I was a single mother with two young children and going to school, trying to make a better life for my children and for myself. I started college. I met my first husband there. We got along pretty good in the beginning. Went out on dates. I would say probably about 3 weeks into the relationship, we had an altercation. We were at college. We had an altercation. And at the time, I didn't really think anything of it because I'm really not a drama person, so I kind of just played it off. After that, we began to date more, and things started to kind of, spiral a little bit more out of control. But at that time, with two kids, a lot going on, I thought, okay, well, it's just the pressures of, every day. So I would say about 6 months into the relationship, he asked me to marry him. And, of course, I was kind of, happy about the fact, okay, here I am, a single woman with two kids, and here I have a man that says he loves me and wants to marry me. Okay. Well, I, of course, said yes. After that, we set a date. We got married. The first night of our wedding, on our wedding day, that's when everything kind of just went completely left. He became very abusive that night. He hit me. And, of course, it was, the apology over and over again. And, of course, I'm sorry.
Let me stop you for a minute if you don't mind. That's okay. The time that you all were dating, did you see any red flags? Or?
I actually did. But at the time, it's like, okay, it's a new relationship. You're not really sure because, you're getting to know each other. You're learning each other. So you thought, okay, this is just a little minor setback, nothing, that every couple, have some minor setbacks, and you just learn to work through them, and that's what I did, not knowing it was going to lead to what it led to.
Now, was he a jealous man or kind of weird at times?
Very jealous. I would say after we got married, I wasn't allowed to leave the house, especially if he was at work. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. I had to stay in the house with the children all day. I only was able to leave when he was with me because he did not want me. He didn't want me around my parents, my siblings, my friends. I was basically in the house.
Just held captive.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, while you all were dating, did you ever leave him, or did you ever think about leaving him?
Well, I do remember an instance where we had got into it. I can't remember now because it's been a long time ago. We had got into it, and I did break it off because I was like, this is a little bit much. It's getting a little bit much for me. But like I said again, he came with the sorries. I love you. I want to be with you. And of course, at that time, I thought, okay, let me give it another try.
Okay, all right. And I can actually relate to what you're going through as far as the violence, because I myself am a victim of domestic violence. I was married to my daughter's dad for 9 years, and it kind of started off with just a little fussing. And again, I'm not a drama person either. I keep to myself, and I don't bother anybody. So I was taken when it all began. He was a cheater. He began to drink, and the physical violence just started. But I myself, I didn't tell anybody. I was ashamed to tell anybody.
Right, and Donna, I can agree with you on that part because for some reason, I guess living with it, it's like I had got immune to the treatment. I had got immune to the mental abuse, the physical abuse, and it was just like, every other person that gets up every morning and live their normal day life. So to me, that was my normal life. The physical abuse, the mental abuse, I accepted that. And at the time, because I didn't know any better, I thought, this is a marriage. You're supposed to make it work, make it last forever. To death do you part.
Exactly. I felt the same exact way. I was like, okay, I've always heard, that's what the old people say, once you get married, you stay married. You make it work no matter what.
Exactly.
That's all I knew. That's all I knew. So with the kids being there, did they witness any of the physical abuse?
They did. They witnessed a lot of abuse. And not to say that they were abused themselves, because he was really, honestly, a good father to them. He was a good father up until the point where he started to, go outside the marriage. He made 2 kids outside the marriage. Of course, that involved other women. So this is at this point, my son had got to the age, probably teenager, maybe 14, 15, to the age where he was recognizing, like, this is not how a woman should be treated. And essentially, I'm his mother. He didn't want anyone, see anyone treat me that way. So he began to, rebel. And it was to the point that I had to make a decision to, either, send my son to live with his father or get out of my marriage. And at the point, like I stated, not knowing what I learned later on is that I felt like personally I made the wrong decision for me because of the love I have for my child. I should have not made the decision for my son to have to go live with his father. But, again, I made that decision because of the type of insecurity that I had in myself with this man that I was living with and abusing me. But, again, I also thought, too, that it was the best decision for me at that time because I felt like it saved my son's life because of, once he began to retaliate, then there were numerous arguments and fights. And, again, my son, a teenager that shouldn't have, been involved in any of that.
Exactly.
So it was a very hard decision to make.
And I do understand. And let's go back to where you said that he went outside the marriage and had children. Go ahead and elaborate a little bit more on that, if you don't mind.
Well, and at this point, I'm into the marriage probably, let's say, about 7 years at this point. Again, just to recall the abuse is, just horrific to me. But at this point, it's like I say, you're immune to it. It's everyday living. It's normal life. You know what to expect when you get home. You know what it's going to be like when you go to bed. So at this point, when he started going outside the marriage, and I feel at that point in my life, I had very low self-esteem about me because, the mental abuse that, you're ugly, no one's going to want you, I'm the best you're ever going to get. That type of talk made me feel really insecure about myself. So I accepted the cheating. Not that I agreed to it, but as far as I fought for my husband at the time, regardless of what I was going through. And then plus, when you stated earlier, that's what we're taught. We're taught once you get married, you work it out, you make it work. So I think that was a lot of the reason, I would say not a lot, but some of the reason why I stayed, because I didn't want to be that person that, got married and got divorced.
Exactly. And one of the reasons that I stayed, like you said, you had low self-esteem. I had low self-esteem as well. And that's what they will put in your mind. You're nothing. Nobody else is going to want you but me. But in your back of your mind, if you want me, then why are you treating me like this? But, we as people, again, being ignorant to the point, we don't know any better at that time. So
right, and I think
the way of living.
Right, and I also think, too, it's just the lack of knowledge of knowing what's out there, knowing that you can, seek help with this type of experience. And at the point I didn't know, and like you said, with self-esteem, really I was just ashamed. I mean, very ashamed of the life that I was living, because I was that woman who said, oh, that'll never be me.
Exactly.
I could look at somebody else's situation and say, that's not going to be me. But you know what? It was me.
Yes. And I tell people today, and they'll talk about, I would never do that. I would never stay with him. And I have to correct them. Don't never say what you won't do if you've never been in that situation.
Because definitely, because I ate my word.
Exactly. In many years, I didn't think I would be in that position. And being an abusive woman or an abusive man, it stays with you for a while. You have to, but you have to come to a point. There has to be something that brings you to that actual breaking point where you just have to look at yourself. And mine was my daughter. She was a girl. And I'm like, okay, I can't allow my girl child to think this is how a man is supposed to treat a woman, and this is what a woman is supposed to accept from a man. So I had to make a choice. So what actually, as we in the country would say, broke the camel's back? What was the last and final straw?
Oh, wow. Well, just kind of go back to the point you were making about your daughter, like you wouldn't want her to be, think that that's the way a woman should be treated. And from that experience, that's one thing that's one thing that I teach my grandchildren today, that have confidence in who you are. Love yourself, seek God, and I teach them how a woman should be treated. Like, these are the things that a man should do for a woman. Because once they get to the age when they start to date or, decide on their future husband, I want them to pick the man that's going to be the best man for them and treat them with respect. So that just, when you mention that, it just brought back that's what I'm teaching my grandchildren today. But I would say
and we have to.
Right. And then one more thing I'm going to add to that, too. Also, we have to teach our young men the same thing. We have to teach them how to respect women, how to treat women. And we also have to allow our young men to have feelings. And you know what we say back in the days, or even to this day, that, a man is not supposed to cry, or a boy is not supposed to cry. And to me, I think that's part of some of the men' problem, that they don't know how to deal with emotions. They don't know how to deal with anger, because someone has told them along the way, you're a man, you're not supposed to cry. But guess what? They're a human being just like a woman is, and they have feelings. So we have to teach our young boys it's okay to cry. That's a natural feeling.
It is.
So, I think that's a lot of part of the anger issues that some of the men have because of the way they've been raised. And I know I'm off subject. I'm going to get back on.
You're fine. You're fine. Our listeners actually need to hear this, because I'm raising my daughter. She's 19 now. She'll be 20 this year in August, but I'm raising my son. He's 10. So I'm a single mom trying to raise a boy. So I can only teach him what I can teach him, but I teach him to be respectful to everyone. He opens the door for me. He opens wherever we are. If he sees a lady or whatever coming, he will open the door. He opens the car door. He's yes, ma'am. He's no, ma'am. He is a respectable son. Now, he is a boy, and them boys get a little, you're a little wild every now and then, but he's a good boy. So I'm teaching him what I can teach him, what I think he needs to know as far as a man is concerned.
Exactly. That's awesome. But to get back to your point about what broke the camel's back or the final straw, I would say that probably about 15 years into the marriage, we met. I actually met one of my ex-husband's friends, and he invited us to church, and that was one thing that wasn't really allowed, in my household at the time, because of course I had to stay at the house. So we went to church. We started to go to church, and not that I didn't know God, but I would say that's when I really found out who God really was. From the teaching and the preaching, it brought something out of me, and I felt like it opened me up, and it made me realize that as long as I have, God on my side, I can do all things. So at that point, the stronger I got into my faith, then the more God was showing me things and was letting me know that no human should be treated that way. No one should be treated the way or have the things done to them that I had done to me. So with me having the faith, I decided, I won't forget it, it was New Year's Eve, and I remember going to a watch service that night, and it was like God sent me to hear the word that night, because the preacher spoke about it's time for a change. It's time to get rid of the old and come into the new. It's time to let the things go, the things that are weighing you down, the things are a burden to you. It's time to let them go. And I felt God talking to me. And I knew my situation. It was just time for a change. Now it was time to not worry about him. It was time to worry about me and what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Because, again, 15 years of my life dealing with the abuse, it was time to move forward. So I made that decision that night, and I actually prayed to God and told him that I'm ready to make a change in my life. I'm ready to let the old go. I'm ready for the new. I've been abused. I've been broken, and I'm tired. And that next day, I was a little bold because usually I wasn't. I was always timid and let him have his way, do whatever. But that morning when I woke up, I said, I'm going to do this, God, and I know you're going to be with me. And I went to him and told him that no more. There will be no more abuse. There will be no more arguing. There will be no more fighting, hitting, burning, whatever. There will be no more. And I'm giving you to the end of the next month to leave my house. So that, to me, it was God who spoke to me, and I was able to, get out of that situation.
And I can relate so much on the fact about God, because that's when I got saved. I've always been Christian-like in mind, but wasn't saved at all. And when my husband did everything that he done, and I proclaimed, that's my husband. He's mine. He's my husband. He can be, he's out there doing what he's doing, but that's my husband. He's gonna always come back home to me because he's my husband. But I had to come to a point, and I let him know, you can either have what's out there in the streets, or you can have your family. So he chose to have what's out there on the street. And when I tell you, that was the worst pain I had ever felt in my life. I thought I was literally going to die, because my life had been so wrapped around this man.
Okay.
I would lay down. I would have laid down and died for him. He beat me. Yes, he mental, physical abuse. But again, I consumed it, and again, that's all I knew. And I loved him with everything I had. I loved him more than God, and I'm not ashamed to say that, because when he left, I didn't have nobody else but God to call on.
Okay.
And when I called, I cried and cried, but I told the Lord, I said, I'm sick and tired of crying. I don't want to cry anymore. Take my tears away and take this hurt feeling away that I have for this man. I said, because I don't want to deal with it anymore. And from that day on, he took all that away from me. I wasn't angry at all, but he took all that away from me. And I got
he will do it.
Yes, he will.
And he will do it. Because
he has to ask and be faithful.
That's right. And then I know when you look back on it, just like I do, that minute or two, I'm just speaking in reference, however many days, but it's not worth a lifetime of pain. So, yes, I did hurt. I'm not going to lie. I hurt. But guess what? I got through it, and I got over it. Exactly. So just to look back and say, I made it through. I don't have to deal with that. I can go where I want to go. I can do what I want to do, within limits. But now it's just, I don't know. God is just so awesome. He is just so awesome, and I just can't praise him enough, because I can look back and I look up. It'll be 26 years if I would have stayed. So I just praise God that he was able to walk with me and walk me out of this marriage.
Exactly. And he knows his children, and he loves his children regardless of what we do. When we don't love ourselves, he loves us anyway. When we do things we don't supposed to do, he still loves us. So who wouldn't want to serve a God like that?
Amen.
But he's my everything, and that's how I get by. My motto is 2 Corinthians 5:7. We walk by faith and not by sight.
Amen.
And that's exactly what I live by. And so you took all the pain that you endured, and you trusted God, and you allowed him to come into your heart to change your pain into power. For the people who don't believe in God, I know there are some people out there who don't. But whatever you may be going through, and if you don't have God, find a friend, a true friend that you can confide in. Because if I would have done that, things may have been a little bit better. I probably left a little bit earlier, but I
Right.
learned a whole lot of things in that, and I was able to go back and tell my ex-husband, thank you, because if it wasn't for what you took me through, I wouldn't be the strong person that I am today.
Amen. Amen.
So if you don't believe in God, get you a motivation book or some CDs, or get you a good friend to talk to. But I encourage you to try Jesus. He'll never fail you at all. At all. So before we go, Miss Lisa, is there anything that you would like to leave with the listeners, some encouraging or empowering words or a message?
I mean, just to kind of, piggyback off of what you just said,
Uh-huh.
I mean, you got to have the Lord in your life. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. Some of the things that I went through, again, I would not be here today. But I can truly say that God has turned my darkness into light.
Yeah.
I just feel like I feel complete. I feel like, I don't know, maybe God put him in my life for a reason, maybe to teach me some things like you stated. But through it all, he's been faithful to me. And so, in turn, I have to stay faithful to him. Exactly. But I would say, just to give advice, again, you got to seek the Lord. You got to get to know him. You got to make him your best friend. So when problems come your way, ask him to lead you. Ask him to guide you. And if you talk to him, he's going to talk to you. But you have got to have him in your life. And then I would say to find, like you stated, find someone you can trust. And I know it's so hard to find trusting people these days, but find someone that you can trust and that you can talk to. Maybe it's an elderly person, just anybody that can hear your cry. Talk to the Lord. Of course, he's going to hear your cry. But someone else that you can, just sit there and listen to you. Because sometimes while you're talking, you actually can be listening to yourself. And sometimes that empowers you to move out of the situation also. And then the last thing I would say is there are domestic abuse hotlines. There's websites everywhere. If you can't find that trusting person, you're going to need some type of help to get away, because some of the violence is just, so dangerous that you're going to need some help. Because sometimes women that don't have jobs or depend on their husband or friend to, take care of them is some of the reasons why women stay in abuse. So you've got to have someone that can assist you with housing or whatever it may be to get yourself out of that situation.
Exactly. And this is what my show is about, From Pain to Empowered Radio. It's not just exactly for domestic violence. It's for any kind of pain that you may be going through at all. We're here to help encourage you and motivate you and just lift you up in any kind of way that we actually can. So don't be afraid to call in and listen in on Mondays from 2:30 Eastern Time, 1:30 Central Time. Every Monday. The topic is From Pain to Empowered. So however you want to take your pain and turn it into power, then that's exactly what you should do. But Lisa, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on my show. And everyone, again, listen to us on Monday. We might be that light in your darkness. Who knows? But I am here to help in any kind of way, because I do believe this is my destiny. I believe God has me doing this for a reason. I love to help people. I'm a helper by nature. But I have a voice And I want to use my voice. I want to use my hurt and my pain and my story to encourage somebody, because I'm here standing. I'm standing. I might have been bent. I might have been broken. But I put all my pieces together, and I'm here standing. I love you with the love of God. And again, Lisa, thank you again for coming out to the show.
Thank you, Donna.
And you're more than welcome. I just hope that we actually encourage someone and maybe touch someone's heart. Thank you so much for listening. You have a blessed day.